Greetings. This is the Corporate Coup Report. I'm Greg Coleridge, Move to Men co-director. We launched this regular program to briefly describe current examples of attempted coups by corporate entities and the billionaires behind them. By coup, we mean the sudden or unlawful takeover of power from government. On the one hand, this is nothing new. Corporate entities have exerted massive influence over our government for more than a century, in large part due to corporate constitutional rights. What is new is the magnitude, blatancy, and boastfulness of the exploits and influence of Trump and the billionaires and corporations within this administration. Their goal is the acquisition of fundamental political and economic power by weakening or obliterating public laws, rules, and institutions, preventing political and economic power by us, we the people. In this episode, we'll briefly cover Trump's presidential address before Congress, proposed staff and budget cuts to the EPA and National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, Trump's creation of a national strategic reserve for Bitcoin, and an on-the-ground description of resisting Elon Musk in Brownsville, Texas. This will be followed by an update on the We the People Amendment and how you can take action to end corporate rule.
Thanks, Greg. My name is Alfonso Saldaña, and I serve as one of Mutuo Men's national co-directors. On Tuesday night, Trump gave his first speech to Congress in 2025, and it sounded more like a corporate earnings report than a vision for the country. He boasted about stock market gains while ignoring rising cost of living. He celebrated the deregulation that benefits corporations while workers struggle, and double down on tax breaks for the wealthy while wages remain stagnant. Elect officials who dared to challenge corporate influence were swifted silently and even escorted out of the chamber. Shortly after, Senator Lisa Slotkin delivered a short rebuttal. What we saw tonight wasn't a plan for the American people. It was a financial strategy for the wealthiest among us. Economic freedom should mean an economy that works for all, not just those at the top. The consequences of unchecked corporate power are already unfolding. BlackRock, the world's largest asset manager, has expanded its grip beyond Wall Street, now controlling a strategic Panama Canal port, a move that hands global trade infrastructure to corporate elites. Meanwhile, back home, the Trump administration is slashing Medicare funding, putting millions at risk of losing healthcare, while corporate profits soar. This isn't governance. It is a corporate takeover. The only way to fight back is to change the system itself. The We the People Amendment, House Joint Resolution 54, can reclaim our government. We need the We the People Amendment, which would end corporate constitutional rights so companies can claim the same legal protections as people. It will declare that money is not speech, stopping billionaires from drowning out the voices of everyday Americans in the elections. Without these changes, every major decision, from the healthcare to climate policy, will continue to be dictated by corporate interest. If we don't act now, our democracy will remain an auction where the highest bidders win and the public loses. It's time to take action. Join the movement to pass the We the People Amendment, and let's take our democracy back before corporations own it entirely.
Hello, my name is Jenny Spanos. I'm a national co-director with the Move to Amend Coalition. And what's happening with the Environmental Protection Agency and the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration workers right now is not just, it's an absolute disaster for the environment, for workers' rights, for democracy itself. It isn't just a layoff, it's a corporate coup in progress. Thousands of scientists, environmental inspectors, disaster response, and public servants, people whose job it is to protect our air, water, and climate, are being thrown out of work not because the work isn't vital, but because corporate polluters do not want them there. Let's be clear, this isn't about efficiency. It's about eliminating environmental protections entirely. It's about making sure no one is left to enforce the rules when corporate polluters pollute our communities, destroy our future. And it's not just about environmental destruction. It's families losing paychecks, communities losing stability, and workers losing their purpose. Also, billionaires can rake in even more profits. Now, if this feels like something that's a shocking attack, I wanted to let you know that it's actually been building for decades. Because here's the truth. Agencies like the EPA and NOAA, they've been already under corporate capture long before these layoffs. Fossil fuel giants, agribusiness, chemical corporations, they've spent years infiltrating regulatory agencies, watering down their rules, silencing the scientists, and rewriting policies to benefit polluters. At the EPA, fossil fuel lobbyists, chemical manufacturers, agribusiness giants, and Wall Street have all systematically chipped away at its independence. From weakening pollution limits to slashing enforcement budgets, corporations have ensured that environmental regulations often serve corporate interests more than public ones. NOAA, too, has faced relentless attacks, especially from industries that profit from deregulating oceans, commercial fishing conglomerates, offshore oil companies, and climate denial networks. The corporate capture of these agencies have paved the way for this moment, for DOGE to come in and not to streamline, but to dismantle entirely. What we're seeing now isn't the start of the story. It's the brutal, logical next step when corporations control both the regulatory process and the political process. What we're seeing now is just the final stages of corporate rule, the outright firing of people who stand between corporate greed and our collective survival. And this is only possible because corporations have been granted constitutional rights, the same rights for people like you and me. That's right. Under this twisted system, the same legal protections meant for living, breathing people like you and me have been handed to multinational corporations. And with those so-called rights, they can spend unlimited money lobbying, influencing elections, gutting the very agencies designed to protect us. This is why the work that Move to Amend does is so critical. Their We the People Amendment, HJR 54, is the only solution that strikes at the root cause. If you care about clean air, drinkable water, and a livable climate, if you believe workers should have dignity and our democracy should actually represent people, not corporations, this movement is your movement too. We need you to stand with the EPA and NOAA workers and to join the movement for real democracy. If you haven't yet, please go to move-to-amend/motion to get involved today, because the survival of our environment, our workers, and our democracy depends on what we do right now together.
Last night, Donald Trump signed an executive order establishing a strategic Bitcoin reserve and U.S. digital asset stockpile. This coincides with a recently introduced bill directing the government to buy upwards of 1 million Bitcoins, worth about $92 billion at today's prices over the next 5 years. A strategic reserve is the holding of a commodity, think petroleum, that is held by governments to pursue a particular strategy or to cope with unexpected events. Identifying Bitcoin as a federal strategic reserve is supposed to send a message that the digital asset is a store of value and not just an item that's speculated, which is what it is. Federal departments are now authorized to explore purchasing Bitcoins. The government will also stockpile other cryptocurrencies. Buying and holding Bitcoins will obviously prop up their price, which have fluctuated dramatically over the years and largely been unregulated. The reserve provides a kind of insurance. Billionaire owners who wish to sell millions of Bitcoins at a time would normally drive down its price. Not so if the government, however, is the buyer of last resort. Bitcoin and other cryptos aren't, however, actually currencies. There's hardly anything you can buy with them besides other cryptos. They're purely speculative. In fact, in 2022, more than 1,600 tech scientists signed a letter calling cryptos nothing more than a sham. Even Donald Trump, as recently as 2019, called them a scam and said, quote, potentially a disaster waiting to happen, unquote. That was, however, before he received over $130 million from ultra-wealthy crypto companies and investors who spent that amount of money on his presidential campaign and members of Congress. Crypto corporations also contributed at least another $10 million to Trump's inauguration. Thus, a crypto corporate coup of federal policies regarding strategic reserves. But that's not all. There's another ripple corporate coup effect, and that is buying and holding at least upwards of $100 billion, if not more, in Bitcoins and other cryptos would make the U.S. a major player in determining their price. What that means is that cashing in some to, say, pay down the federal debt would reduce their value, making Trump's crypto investors mighty angry. Therefore, having to hold them indefinitely would tie up a huge sum of money, federal money that obviously could be spent on public services but would not. The result would be an increased likelihood of having to privatize or corporatize public services, what Trump and Musk and his billionaire and corporate buddies are already trying to do in other ways. Yet another corporate coup effect. It's all the more reason we need to end corporate rule by passing the We the People Amendment, H.R. 54. Join the movement. Sign up if you already haven't by going to movetoamend.org/motion.
Thanks, Greg. Brownsville, Texas, the ancestral lands of the Carrizo Comecrudo tribe and the place I call home, is a city rich in culture, history, and resilience. Every year we celebrate Charro Days, a festival that reminds us that the border isn't a wall, it is a bridge, a place where communities thrive together. But this year, amidst all the mariachi bands and folklorico dancers, another fight was brewing, one against corporate rule. Elon Musk came to Brownsville with big promises: jobs, innovation, prosperity. Instead, Boca Chica Beach has become a corporate testing ground. Rockets explode, wildlife is destroyed, and the locals, many have been pushed out, while millions in taxpayers' money flow to SpaceX. And now, Musk wants to go further. He is petitioning to turn Boca Chica Beach into Starbase, his own private company town. The catch, most of the residents who will get to vote on this are SpaceX employees renting from their own boss. But Brownsville isn't backing down. During this year's Charro Day parade, activists took out to the streets with a clear message: stop SpaceX, ICE, and LNG. This isn't about Brownsville. It's about who controls our communities, the people or billionaires. Here's what you can do: encourage any organization you might be a part of to endorse the We the People Amendment. Together, we can end corporate rule once and for all. You can learn more by visiting movetoamend.org/organizations. Secondly, you can get your community to pass a local resolution demanding real democracy. Learn how over 700 communities across the nation have done this and replicate it in yours. Go to movetoamend.org/resolution in support. Brownsville is fighting back. The question is, will you join us?
The We the People Amendment, currently HJR 54, was introduced in the 119th Congress on February 12th by Representative Pramila Jayapal, with 28 original co-sponsors. It's a proposed constitutional amendment that would make clear corporations are not people, and its money is not free speech. two essential steps in dismantling corporate rule and putting the power back into the hands of actual human beings. While it's often framed as a way to restore democracy, the truth is the United States has never been a fully functioning democracy. From the founding days of slavery, land theft, and excluding women and non-property owners from voting, to today's corporate stranglehold on our economy, our environment, and our political system, this amendment is about creating the conditions for real democracy, one we've never truly had. The amendment directly addresses the root legal doctrines that allow corporate power to override public good, fueling disasters like BlackRock's takeover of the Port of Panama, where it puts profits before sovereignty and environmental protections. Deep cuts to Medicaid and cutting agencies like NOAA and the EPA, which are meant to protect public health and the planet. It also speaks to why billionaires like Elon Musk can attempt to bully cities like Brownsville, Texas, or why we see dangerous proposals like Trump's call for strategic crypto reserves, all enabled by corporate-friendly laws that treat companies as if they have the same rights of people, with even more access to wealth and political influence. The We the People Amendment doesn't solve all of this overnight, but it does lay the legal groundwork to strip corporations of their illegitimate power, making it possible for communities to actually govern themselves, to protect the planet, and to defend public services from corporate greed. It's not about money and politics. It's about shifting power back to where it belongs, the people. This is our moment to take back our democracy, but we can't do it alone. Your voice, your support, and your actions are essential to this movement. Be part of history and join us for organizing for the We the People Amendment on March 10th to build a democracy that truly represents we the people, not corporations. Go to movetoamend.org/events and reserve your spot at one of the two available times for the training event.
Well, another set of actions you can take is our local, and that would be to attend local actions in solidarity with laid off workers, groups protesting essential federal program cuts, and or those protesting unconstitutional lawlessness. There are no doubt many organizations, many groups, many actions taking place where you are. So use these events as opportunities to connect these assaults on people, programs, and or the Constitution to one of the roots of how and why the billionaires and corporations have acquired the power that they are now using. And that is corporate constitutional rights. Make a sign that says in corporate rule, a corporation is not a person, or hashtag We the People Amendment. Circulate our petition. You can go to our website to find that. But whatever way it is, make yourself visible and make the connections.
Lastly, please consider supporting our work to pass the We the People Amendment and put an end to corporate rule once and for all. We take $0 from corporate donors or the mega rich. We are entirely grassroots funded and operated. And if we get all together and pitch in whatever we can afford, we can make sure to give the mega wealthy private interests trying to dictate our lives a good run for their money. So please consider going to mutuamend.org/donate and help us end corporate greed once and for all.
Please share this video and like us on social media. And thank you so much for watching.
Corporations are not people too. Money is not speech. Man, in fact, it's the root of our right. Now we have the right to be free. Corporations are not people too. Money is not speech. Man, in fact, it's the root of our right. Now, defend your democracy.
Have you recently read
at the Constitution, there seems to be some type of confusion. I thought it said the people were the institution and not the corporations that simply want to use them. The truth is currently a fusion of corporate loot and our government that is outright abusive. People need change. The state, it refuses. They're saying we're mistaken. Well, show us where the proof is. They control the media, movies, and the music, and determine where supplies of the water and food live. We need a strategy. Here is a solution. Build a movement to give our rulers improvements. An infusion of human to counteract the hubris that has our ecosystem near useless and our youth pissed. The founding fathers were flawed, but they knew this. They gave us the tools to move with. Let's use them.
Move. Corporations are not people. Too. Money is not speech.
Man,
In fact, it's the root of all
right
evil.
now.
And it's time to take to these streets. Move. Corporations are not people. Too. Money is not speech.
Man,
In fact, it's the root of all
right
evil.
now.
So get on out of your seats.